Today on Locked On Rockies, lots of prospect news, and I'm curious, what would you do if you had the number 4 pick in the 2025 MLB draft?
You are Locked On Rockies, your daily Colorado Rockies podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Rock on Rockies fans, welcome into the Locked On Rockies podcast for today, the first day of July in the year 2025. I'm your host of the Locked On Rockies podcast, Paul Holden, bringing in your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where you can find your team every day. And if your team is the Colorado Rockies, you're in the right spot because that's what we do around here each and every day, free and streaming on your favorite streaming services and on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel, where you can be part of the show. You can fire off your Rockies hot takes. You can let me know what's on your mind when it comes to the Colorado Rockies. Today on the show, there's prospect news. We'll also take a look at some draft options here, some new mock drafts for the Rockies, getting ready for that coming up here in July. And we'll look ahead, of course, to some more of the action. No, it's an off day, so we'll see if there's anything that we need to preview ahead of Rockies Astros. Before we dive into everything today, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Go check that out. So, big news for the Rockies here. Yanquiel Fernández is getting the call up here, and we head on over to Purple Row to read from Evan Lang. Francis Romero reported on Monday afternoon that the Colorado Rockies are expected to select the contract of slugging Cuban prospect Yanquiel Fernández on Tuesday. Fernández is ranked as the organization's number 5 prospect per MLB pipeline, and Purple Row ranked him at number 7 prior to the 2025 season. Currently here this season, he has unlocked a little bit of some power here, has a very solid month of June. Currently this season, 284, 347, 502 with the Isotopes, 13 home runs through his first 64 games in Albuquerque. And Evan points out his bat has especially caught fire in the month of June, where he's hit 5 of those home runs and has a base hit in 13 of 17 games he has appeared in. A little bit of a nugget here also from this piece from Evan about Fernández. On the other hand, which is because he follows up, Eric Longenhagen described Fernández as this on Fangraphs. A strapping, broad-shouldered young man with considerable thunder in his hands, Fernández has a 60 graded power tool and is able to generate effortless pop when he gets the barrel to the ball. Here's the things, the caveats, so to speak. On the other hand, he has a habit of chasing breaking pitches outside the zone and sometimes forces his swing in an unnecessary attempt to generate extra power. Fernández is defensively limited to right field as he lacks the speed and range to play in center or left and isn't the best route runner. However, he has improved his glove work throughout his minor league career and has an incredibly powerful throwing arm. So I guess, just to start there, I think introducing a little thump and introducing a little power, if it turns out, if he's able to translate that to the major league level, if you're having issues where you're striking, trying to do too much at the dish, we've seen that be a problem for Rockies this year. And again, when you're talking about development and getting these guys prepared and helping these guys off the field, that's where you do have some worries about the Rockies and their abilities to get Fernández in the right spot to be prepared to handle that uptick, because we know how big of a jump it is from AAA to the majors. I know it seems like it might be a little bit smaller, but we've seen guys struggle. We've seen guys have some issues when they've come up with, especially chasing things, being blown away, unable to hit fastballs. And then, of course, the Rockies just with their strikeout issues in general. And if you have issues with breaking stuff or off-speed stuff, that certainly can pose an issue. But I think what's going to be interesting here to see how the Rockies use Fernández. When you're looking at the DH position for the Rockies right now, you're not really like married to anybody, right? There's no one really that you have to sit there and make sure that you're like, wow, we got to have this bat in, outside of Hunter Goodman. And with Hunter Goodman dealing with the injury right now, this is probably a situation in which you can have Fernández do some, get some at-bats at the major league level. And I wonder how much defense we'll actually see him play, or if the Rockies will just slot him in as a DH. Hopefully he gets some reps out there. I mean, it's Coors Field. If you're going to be an outfielder, you certainly need to get that reps. You need to get comfortable out there at Coors. And if you got a rocket arm and you're not that great and you're a lower grade defensively, right field's a good place to put you, especially throughout the history of the Rockies. We've seen that before, and we've seen guys with rocket arms and sometimes, up and down defense be successful out there in right. But I do wonder if this is a move that's going to be more focused on DH, or if it's going to be a move focused on getting him out into the outfield. Because what does that mean for Mickey Moniak? What does that mean for Tyler Freeman? What does that mean for the long list of guys that can play right field for the Colorado Rockies? How are you going to get him in the game? Because again, when you're looking at the overall DH options for the Rockies right now, no one's really, cemented themselves as this big bat, this guy that, this intimidating force in the middle of the lineup here. So it'll be interesting to see how the Rockies are able to use that again as they're trying to, recreate some of the offense that's left in the wake of the Hunter Goodman injury. It'll be, the other question here, is that going to change anything for your Hilliard or your Becks? I don't know. And of course, your Bretton Doyles, probably not. Again, if you're worried about the defensive side of things, you're not going to have him play center field against a good Astros offense here at Coors. And in reality, why would you rock the boat with Beck over there and left? He has certainly been proving that he is good enough to be the starting left fielder for the Rockies here this season. And so I think this will be not only is this the Rockies' number 5 prospect by MLB Pipeline being called up, but it's one that if he can come up and swing a bat and be consistent, use that power. I like getting him a start at Coors Field, see if we can use that and see if that'll help, maybe help lift the ball a little bit for him and keep that hot streak going there. The Rockies need offense, plain and simple. They as much as we've seen the offense be better in June and we've seen that stuff, keep adding on to that offense there. Keep seeing what you're going to do there, because as much as we talked a little bit about before about Freeman and Mickey Moniak making the strides in progress as well, I don't think you can sit there and for sure just say, all right, we got to stick with this pair the rest of the time. Keep trying out things like this. And if you have this opportunity to fill the DH spot here with the young guy swinging a good bat, let's see what happens. Because again, at this point in the season, Farmer at bats aren't really going to help you. And I was just talking about what the impact of Estrada and Farmer and Arcia and these, some of these veteran guys being in the lineup and helping things out. But in that DH role, right? Arcia and Estrada can fill in, they play defensively. They can fill in as Tovar continues to rehab and heal up there with what he's dealing with. Estrada was your plan at second base all the time anyway, and you're not really blocking a lot of young guys from there. Of course, you still have Ritter on that team, and I wonder if maybe now this will be a situation where Ritter is going to get sent down as Estrada is becoming a little bit more consistent. You have the utility player of Freeman, and Freeman's been swinging the good bat. We'll see if maybe that was there. As of recording, haven't seen a corresponding move at least yet for what will happen with Fernandez. It might not be announced until tomorrow, but we'll keep our eyes out and see if anything's going to happen there. So I guess, that'll be the interesting question of how does Fernandez see the field? Is it going to be, are we going to see him play defense and offense? Are the Rockies going to just say, hey, this is a get you at bats type of moment? You got to get him on the field though, right? You can't have situations in which you're going to call him up and you don't get him on the field. And as the Rockies have been bad about this in the past, and sometimes maybe there are some guys that could use more consistent playing time, the Rockies have kind of been embracing this. They've made some call-ups. They've tried out some stuff. They've demoted people. They've done a couple of different experimentations here with getting different guys in the lineup. So I'm not as worried about this, especially as we're talking about a team led by Warren Schaffer as opposed to Bud Black. I think that we're going to continue to see this team challenge its young players to rise to the occasion as the second half of the season rolls through and the Rockies still have, I believe, the most difficult schedule remaining in baseball. How does this young team rise up and handle the occasion? Do they continue to track on and be the worst team in baseball? Or do they adjust? Do they adapt to that level of ball and start raising some eyebrows and reversing course a little bit here and trying to avoid that? Running out of time to do so here when you're looking at how fast and how quickly the losses pile up for the Rockies. So in this case of Fernandez, obviously you got your hiccups and the things you worry about. When I see issues with an offensive player having having some of these issues with chasing pitches and things like that, I don't necessarily think the Rockies organization has put themselves as avoiding that and training that and working on that and getting that out of your system. They haven't shown that they're very successful at developing that, but we'll see. I think this is an interesting move here as the Rockies continue to look for some answers here with these young guys and see what they can do here with the Rockies taking on the Astros here at home. So we'll see the impact of Fernandez and hopefully going to be making his debut there in the game. I'd imagine so. And like I said, as of recording, haven't seen the corresponding move yet. So who's going to go? Is it a vet that's going to go? Is it a farmer, for example, that will be DFA'd or something like that? Will it be a Ritter goes back down and the Rockies go with the utility in the interim? We'll have to see as time goes on. But the Rockies calling up their 5th ranked prospect, according to MLB Pipeline, and we'll see how it goes. We're always rooting for the success here because, again, red-hot Astros team coming into Coors Field. So the Rockies are going to need to do anything in their power to slow that team down. And that's not the only prospect news we got. Plus, a couple of mock drafts have an interesting name at number 4 for the Rockies. Let's talk about that coming up next on today's episode of Locked On Rockies. Before we do that, though, got to tell you about the folks that help make this show possible, and that includes Monarch Money. And you all can relate to this. You're like, oh, my goodness, how much did I spend on takeout? How much am I spending on streaming services? How much am I spending on microphone equipment that likes to fall over and be annoying during ad reads? Well, Monarch Money can help you with all your big purchases. Monarch Money puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is more than a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building wealth. You can see, like I said, those subscriptions. Oh my goodness. How many subscriptions do you need to sign up for to watch sports these days, folks? You don't need them all. The sports that you love, they're probably in the off season. See how much you're spending on that and see how much it adds up and just see how much more. You'll be shocked to see that. And Monarch's going to help you keep in control, help you pick the ones you need and the other stuff you don't need and give it the boot. And then you can get your financial goals. You can help yourself reach those goals a little bit easier. It's going to be laid out, all organized, one app, one place, your home for multiple accounts as well. And you can even work together with your partner, whether it be your partner in life or your business partner. So instead, you're not just managing your money, you're building wealth. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB. Code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. Locked On Rockies here, bringing you your daily Rockies chat for today, the first day of July, segment number 2 of Locked On Rockies, free and streaming on your favorite streaming services. We thank you so much for making us your first listen of the day, and we appreciate your comments, just like Felix, who says we need our savior, Chris Bryant, to come back and save the season with this frowny face. And Felix, it ain't going to happen. That put a fork in it. It's done. I mean, at this point, by the time you get back and the back kids even get there and gets to the rehab and gets to this, like, that ship sailed, man. You could just punt on the season. If you're gonna keep continuing the Chris Bryant experiment, just make it next year. Say you're done. Shut him down for the year. It's clear the hell they blew smoke all off season again, talked about the new program, talked about all this, talked about how they're getting him. He's feeling better than ever. He's doing all this stuff. His body is betraying him. So shut it down. Don't even open it up and do a full year recovery. If you are going to continue to buy into the Chris Bryant thing, shut it down. Give it the full year, full training regimen, full everything, full reset, and hope that he can get on the field next year. In the meantime, the Rockies are looking to see for big things for one of their big sluggers here. Charlie Condon is heading to the Futures game. He is, I believe, the sole Rockies representative for the Futures game, as he has been coming alive here this season, having a strong season. He also just got promoted to a Double-A, I believe. Yes, he just got promoted to Double-A. Jared Thomas also promoted to Double-A, and so this is a good sign for these guys as the Rockies, as these guys were just drafted last year up into Double-A. Good signs for them. And so this is it's a small thing here. Let's see. I'm trying to read here from all right, so this is from Andrew Mason on denversports.com. Condon, last year's number 4 overall pick, got off to a slower start after missing the first month of the season because of a fractured wrist he suffered in spring training, delaying his regular season debut with Spokane until May 5th. Still, Condon quickly overpowered pitching at that level, putting the struggles of last year behind him when he posted a 180, 248, 270 line over 25 games and 109 plate appearances. This year, Condon nudged his average to 300 on May 29th and kept it there from June 1st onward. Condon sits atop of the list of Rockies prospects per MLB Pipeline, and Thomas is 10th. So some good signs there as the Rockies rewarding the boost there, batting over 300 at that single A level, get him up there, and now he'll be heading to the Futures game where hopefully he can show off a little bit more of that oomph and a little bit more of that power there. So good news for Charlie Condon, as we kind of were floating a little bit there without a lot of news for him. And of course, that small sample size from last year with those struggles there, but great to see it pick up there. When you're batting over 300, good things are happening there, certainly. So a good sign there for Charlie. And I kind of want to use that as the backdrop a little bit for these mock drafts I was looking at for the Rockies here. There are now 2 mock drafts that I looked at here, both from ESPN and from MLB.com, that are saying the Rockies are going to land Ethan Holiday. And I couldn't be more excited about this because here's my philosophy. People have asked me, who do you want with the number 4 pick? What should they do? And I've reminded people, minors, draft, all that stuff, not necessarily a strong suit of my coverage, but I will believe in this. One, it's not only the name, but the future of the success of future Rockies teams comes down to great offenses. Great offenses will be able to help with and help the mediocre to fine pitching staffs hang in there and be successful. The Rockies in the playoffs, they had good pitching, not great pitching. They had great outings. They had great seasons. They did get some, you could classify some of the performance in some of the seasons of some of these guys as great. But overall and compared, and when you go zoom out league wide, not necessarily the strongest of rotations, but the Rockies offense helped pave the way. The Rockies offense is the thing that chases the pitchers out early in Coors Field and makes you go to the bullpen in game 1 and drive up the usage of your pitchers when you go to altitude. You're a pain to play the Rockies because they might let up some runs on the from the pitching side, but they'll match it. They'll hit home runs, they'll hit doubles, they'll hit things in the gap, they'll get you running, they'll get you moving. Offense has to be the focus of the Rockies, I think. And of course, when you look at it too, a lot of the Rockies' top prospects right now are mostly offensive guys. There are, I believe here. Let me see if I can get. I moved it along here, but let me get back to the Rockies' top prospects here. I believe only one in the top 10 is a pitcher currently right now. Brody Brecht at number 4 for that. And then Carson Palmquist, Sean Sullivan there, round out at 7 and 8. So there are, out of the 10, the top 10 prospects in the system here, at least according to MLB.com and their pipeline here, they're all offensive guys. But how many of these young guys have already either made starts, or how many of these guys, the young Rockies arms, are already in and with the organization there? So for me, if you have an opportunity to get Ethan Holiday, you take Ethan Holiday without any hesitation. As if he falls to 4, the pick should be in immediately. There should be no hesitation. There should be no nothing, because let's just read a little bit here from, I'll start from MLB.com before we go over to ESPN here. And this is from Jonathan Mayo over here on MLB.com. If he doesn't go to the Nationals, this continues to be the most likely spot for Matt's kid. The Rockies could also consider Hernandez or Arnold here. Some Arnold. Let's Jamie Arnold and or Seth Hernandez here. That is Hernandez is a high school pitcher, and Arnold is a college pitcher. But here is he just says the Rockies could also consider Hernandez or Arnold if they want to go for go with an arm. And then here is what Jeff Passan said, acting as the Rockies GM over there. A massive power hitting athlete named Holiday in a Rockies uniform is just right. And this isn't just for the cute story of Ethan Holiday following in the footsteps of his father, Matt, who spent his first 6 seasons with the Rockies. Holiday is atop the draft board of a number of teams. He's different from his older brother in 2022 number 1 pick Jackson. Ethan is bigger, 6'4", hardier, 210 pounds, and likelier to stay on the left side of the infield. Power is his carrying tool. And with the Rockies years away from contention, they can target upside that might be a little slower developing than the college talent still on the board. So and I think there too, if you get Holiday, you have Ryan McMahon, depending on if you make the change or make a move, or you could probably stopgap and figure it out, because again, the contention window, where you're at and where the Rockies go, that leaves them in an interesting spot. And if you have a guy that could be that huge game-changing bat that you're hoping for, you have Charlie Condon playing first base, and then you got Holiday at third base, being your sluggers with Ezekiel Tovar at shortstop, and then maybe Ryan Ritter at second base. Your outfield fills out with some of those guys. It depends on how the timeline would match for, say, a Brenton Doyle, but you would have your Becks and your Freemans and your and such getting very much into that veteran status, ready to be in growing into those veteran ball players, setting the stage for here comes the debut of Holiday, and he helps jumpstart the Rockies back to a relevant team. Maybe it's not a big playoff run. Maybe it's not even the playoffs, but a team that is relevant. So I think you have to factor that in as well. Of course, my thing is no high school pitchers. If you're going to go pitcher, you got to get guys that are going to be able to start helping your organization sooner rather than later, especially as you're going to be seeing some probably departures from the starters this year. And the bullpen always needs arms. So if you want to go there, it sounds like there's some options. But for me, I like the story. I like the Holiday connection. I like the fact that he could be a big power bat. And I think the Rockies need to prioritize offense over everything at this point. As much as history has suggested, the pitching. The Rockies are successful when their offense is good and contributes. And that is the biggest problem with the Rockies right now, I think, at least. Wanted to just give a little bit more praise to Warren Schaffer here and put a bow on this episode. We're going to do that coming up next on today's episode of Locked On Rockies. Before we do that, though, got to tell you about the folks that help make this show possible, and that includes FanDuel. Summer sports are in full swing. We're talking baseball. We're talking golf. We're talking WNBA. We're talking motorsports, and, of course, all of the soccer action. And FanDuel's got you covered because they help you make every game even more exciting. You're already following the action. You're already locked into the Rockies all season long. I know you're rocking and rolling through a tough season. That's crazy. Why not make it a little more thrilling with FanDuel? You can get in on the game with your friends, or while your friends are getting sunburned at the beach. You can use FanDuel to track your favorite matchups, and the app keeps it fresh with new daily promotions and fun ways to bet, helping you maximize and stretch that dollar a little bit more. It's easy to use, fast to pay out, and makes even regular season games, yes, the doldrums of summer baseball games as the Rockies are continuing to slog through the 2025 season, well, you can make it feel like must-watch events. Whether you're placing a same-game parlay to try to maybe, boost the Rockies' offense by buying into a Beck hit, a Goodman hit. I know Goodman's not in the lineup technically right now, so a Freeman hit, or maybe even something like a couple of home runs for the Rocks. Why not see that bet ride into the ninth inning? FanDuel makes it feel like you're part of the action. And if you're new to FanDuel, new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. That's $5, placing your first $5 bet and getting $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com to get started. Closing things out on your Tuesday edition of Locked On Rockies, and I wanted to let you know, coming up later this week ahead of the White Sox series, we will be doing a crossover with Locked On White Sox to just kind of dive into these teams. And I wanted to keep, like, as much as, all crossovers were great. I wish you could do crossovers every time. Sometimes the schedule doesn't allow, but I really want to get the White Sox fan perspective of watching the Rockies and watching a team be on a worse trajectory than them last year and what they're seeing. But also, the fact of, like, what's changed for Chicago since last year? Do we really has things where they hit a rock bottom worst team ever did massive change come to the organization? Can we expect to see massive change? And I think it'll be a fascinating series again, just like with the Marlins earlier in the year when we talked about that with these two teams that are kind of scuffling and teams that weren't doing anything. Look at Miami now. Oh my goodness. But I think it'll be a fascinating conversation looking into just two teams that are not only bad, but historically bad, and what that means not only for the on and behind the scenes stuff, the on the field stuff and behind the scenes stuff, but also for the fan bases and things of that nature as well. Also, as always, get involved with the show, folks. Let me know what your thoughts are for the Rockies in the draft. Let me know what your thoughts are for the Rockies promoting Fernandez or anything Rockies related in the Locked On Rockies YouTube comment section, just like we heard from Felix earlier in the show. Thomas Harding wrote a nice little piece up about the Rockies getting a nice little bit of a boost from Warren Schaffer going out there. And you love to see not only that backup there. I wanted to appreciate Warren Schaffer getting out there, being animated, bringing life. Like one of the things that I always kind of felt like was one of the, and it's not his fault, but Bud Black's not necessarily the type of guy that's going to go out in front of throw his hat down, spike some gum, squat down and show how low the things were. He kind of would waddle out there and, kind of give him the what for, the hands on the hip type of yelling, kind of the old school, like, rah, 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 kind of that type of arguing. But I think the ejection of Schaffer kind of just shows you that the energy is different with the Rockies because he brings a different energy. He brings a more youthful energy. He brings a different outlook. He brings a different approach. Sure, it's not immediately translating to all the success, but I think when you just can kind of see that there's a little bit more animation and a little bit more passion from the manager of the Rockies, that kind of makes it feel like I feel like that does help kickstart things a little bit for this club to help keep things as they're navigating, what was that, another 5-game losing streak that they were going through. Very frustrated again to have their guy go out there and be able to back up their players on some backup calls, especially when you read some of these quotes where Freeman didn't even curse. This is what Tyler Freeman was saying at the end. I didn't swear. I didn't really say anything rude, Freeman said. All he said was like, come on, bro, that's twice, and he tossed me. I think I'm kind of more of a calm person anyways in general, and for him to toss me, it just didn't feel right. That's when Schaffer entered the picture. The first time big league manager ran from the dugout toward home plate. As he began exchanging words with Jesus, he paused to take the gum out of his mouth and threw it to the ground. Then he took the ball cap off his head and slammed that down too. That was enough for De Jesus, who immediately tossed him, but that wasn't enough for Schaffer. He walked to the plate, crouched down, and demonstrated where he felt the previous pitch was. He then got back up, walked back, and said something else, walked back to De Jesus, said something else, and headed back to the dugout. But as he reached the top set, he turned around, went back, and gave some final thoughts. It's just, like I said, small thing, not a major development there, but it's good to see that energy, and good to see that energy of backing up your guys there as well. And as I don't know what the future will be, as I mentioned before, but I think this is the type of stuff the front office will look at and kind of say, hey, this guy's got our back, and the players got his back as well. And let's see here. Schaffer said, I've just got to stick up for my player. Schaffer said, when something happens like that, where it's just sensitivity and he gets rid of him because he's sensitive, that can't happen. I like just having a little bit of oomph there. And here's what Farmer said about Schaffer here. Schaffer is awesome. He's done such a good job with us, Farmer said. He's going to have his players back, and seeing how fast he went out there meant a lot to us. Anything like that, especially when you see your manager turn red and bald and run out of there fast, it'll get you fired up. He has our backs more than anything, Freeman said. It fired me up to see that in a good way. It just got the boys going. I mean, we ended up winning that game. On Friday, Schaffer said his team is still learning how to win as a group. Sunday being its 19th win of the season shows that, but it was also the Rockies' 10th win in June, more than they had in March, April, and May combined. There's still progress to be made, but a hard-fought win like Sunday and recently putting together overall competitive efforts more consistently are positive signs for the Rockies. It certainly helps to see firsthand that their manager has their backs. Again, silver linings, small victories, that is one. And it's a good point to show that these, when the guys are pumped up by the manager and saying that they are getting the energy, they are firing them up. to keep them fired up, to keep them energized as they navigate this really tough season. That's very important. And props to Schaffer for that as well. Rockies are going to be taking on the Astros here in the first game of the 3-game series coming up here as we are getting ready to wrap up the episodes here. I'll just remind you of your pitching matchup. I believe we talked about it here on the Monday episode. Yeah, Chase Dollander going up against Colton Gordon here. And the Rockies, the secret to this is going to be patience and avoiding the strikeout here, because Gordon, in 40 innings worth of work, he's only got 5 walks allowed this year. Chase has got to be able to hit the zone because he's allowed 22 more walks there. That'll be the difference maker in this pitching matchup, certainly. Folks, that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Rockies. Thank you so much for making us your first listen of the day. For your second listen of the day, go check out Locked On MLB and Locked On MLB Game Night, where our hosts keep you covered from all things baseball from around the league from after each and every game. And, of course, if you need more Colorado sports coverage, Locked On Broncos, Avalanche, Nuggets, and Buffs, free and streaming on your favorite streaming services. Until next time, I'm Paul Holden saying so long from the Locked On Rockies podcast.